The following is a presentation of the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, and real since 1998.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the post show for TNA's final turning point destination. My apologies, turning point. I'm not used to doing these post shows. My name is Meathead, and joining me as always on TNA stuff, as you would, is Matthew Thomas, but also joining us live from the Impact Zone tonight, Mr. Damian Nelson. Damian, turning point was this evening. The show is over. You are still sitting ringside. What do you got?
Well, thank you, Meathead. It was a tremendous live event from TNA Impact Wrestling tonight, especially that main event, Jeff Hardy versus Austin Aries, in a ladder match that had innovation that we have not seen in a long time. Well, we've never seen it because it's innovative. Very well done. Some spots we had not seen before, some dangerous spots. But a good matchup that saw Jeff Hardy retain the TNA World Heavyweight Championship against all odds, since, you know, you're confused as to which pay-per-view it was. It was a good match. Good show. Show started off very strong, especially that matchup between Magnus and Samoa Joe. Both are very strong. I'm very, very impressed with the continued improvement by Magnus each and every time we see him, and he had a great matchup with Samoa Joe tonight. You know what? There were times, though, that things slowed down a little bit, and the Joe Parks match versus Doc from Ace and Ace was, you know what, it was what it was, but it's a lot that we've already seen. So there was nothing really new there, but I'm not going to knock it because of that. But overall, a solid show.
Okay. High point and low point.
Ooh, high point were the high spots in that ladder match. The low point would probably have had to have been the matchup with Joey Ryan and,
really?
Who did he face? RVD.
Really?
Well, you know, I've not been a fan of RVD. And I have difficulty understanding his appeal. Great athlete, very talented, but at the same time, it just seemed like something was, I'll call it a bit off maybe in that matchup, but I would say that would probably be the low point of the night.
I would tell you what, Joey Ryan's on TV for one reason only. It's Movember, sir, and that mustache must be promoted.
Well, it's more than a mustache. That's one hairy beast. Seeing him up close was not very appealing. Let me just say that.
Damian,
anything else happen at the show?
The crowds inside the Impact Zone. What was the reaction of the crowd tonight? It seemed just on television a little more vocal than your traditional Thursday night Impact crowd, but of course not that of what you'd have at a WWE pay-per-view event. You being right there in the midst of it, what was your perception of the crowd?
Here's one thing you have to think about, and that's a good question, Matthew. Tonight, the studios, Universal Studios, closed at 7 o'clock p.m. So anybody who was there for that pay-per-view, for the most part, they were there for the pay-per-view. They were not just theme park fans who wandered in. And they retained the audience, the live audience at least, for most of the show, if not all of the show, just a few people leaving here and there. They were loud. I am very, very impressed by the continued positive reaction that Jeff Hardy gets in TNA. I would say him, Eric Young, James Storm even RVD probably got the biggest reactions of the night. But it was an active crowd. There were moments, though, where they were a bit down, if you will, and a bit less into the show than you would think they should have been, given what was going on. But you deal with that every time you're in the Impact Zone.
I would say more so than not just the Impact Zone. I mean, we see it on wrestling pay-per-views in general. There's what they call the popcorn match in the WWE, and, you know, it is what it is. It's the business. So, but overall, you know, it sounds like it was a good show for you, Damian. Again, we've always talked about it on the program on PWR and here on the Blog Talk, but how would you think that this would have came off differently if you weren't in the building? Because, again, the live experience is always going to change from the sitting and viewing experience.
Again, another great question. It's like you guys have been practicing on Thursday nights. So I didn't expect that. Hey, another good question.
Broadcast journalist, sir.
I've not long, but at least in the last few weeks, I have gone back to being more of a fan while watching wrestling. I'm not tweeting as much. I'm not watching what other people are saying as much. So I would say if I would have watched it from, you know, on television, it probably would have come off a bit more flat than it did live. Which I think is typical. You could say that of a WWE event, you could say that of a TNA event, you could say that of a Ring of Honor event. I think that's typical because you don't have the atmosphere around you.
Sure. Okay. Matthew?
Yeah, and just critiquing the show tonight at home, Damian, I know it sounded like Eric Young got a pretty big response. As you said, he was one of the biggest pops of the night. But from the way I saw it, with having that mixed tag match on second in the show, at least from my perspective, it did seem to slow down the momentum a little bit, because at that number 2 spot where you're still building the momentum going into the show, it just seemed to come to a little bit of a grinding halt there for me.
You know, I'm surprised to hear that, actually, because the fans were deeply into that matchup. They love EY, they love ODB, and how could you not, really? I was surprised at how, I hesitate to use this word, I was going to use the word good, but maybe I had a bad perception of what Jesse could deliver in the ring. He actually delivered and did a good job in that matchup tonight. I thought it was strong. I thought the crowd was into it. I think everything that the next 3 matches after that did take a little bit of air out of the balloon, but I thought it was in the right place.
And on the subject of Jesse, I've got to say I've been enjoying him. I think he's good at what he's in there to do. And, you know, he's been wrestling ODB over the last few weeks, and it's a bit different than, say, what we've seen EY do as far as wrestling women. I mean, he's actually in there performing actual wrestling moves on ODB, and there's a comedic element to it that it's something different. It's something that I haven't seen in quite some time. And is he going to be a mat technician that people will be talking about for years to come?
No.
I don't know. You know, it's still early in the game, but
just say no, man. He won't.
For what he's in there to do right now, I mean, it's doing the trick for me.
He did good, and let's not forget there's story behind this matchup. There's story behind those 4 characters that were in that matchup, and really, that's sometimes all you need. They had the platform to deliver in the ring, and deliver, I think they did, with what they could do. It was a comedy match. Let's be real here, and they achieved that, and they did so with some great athleticism. What was challenging, though, was you're so used to in a mixed tag match the girl on girl, boy on boy, and that wasn't enforced. But I think that added to the match because ODB got some good spots on Jesse tonight, and the interactions between all 4 were tremendous.
Yeah, and you would expect that. Now, the one thing I thought was kind of not shocking, but, you know, this is a big return for EY. He's been off doing his Hollywood thing. It was teased that he might be that big Hollywood boyfriend for Tara, and he wasn't. It was Mr. Pectacular. Still a relationship going on with EY and ODB. So, you know, he's the man off doing his thing. You know, obviously she got her beer, she got her chicken, and now he's not going to, you know, she's not going to see him for another month to 2 months at a time.
Hey, quick question for you guys. We're watching at home, obviously. When Austin was airing, played with the gimmick for the belts there. Did you hear what Austin said to Jeff?
Matthew?
I didn't pick up on it. I didn't catch it.
Oh, my. It happened 12 feet away from me, and I can't repeat it on this program because I think, what are we, PG-13 now?
It is after 10 o'clock Central.
There were some bombs, and we're not talking about Afghanistan or Iraq, and no offense, obviously, but that's a way to bridge to celebrating Veterans Day, which was today, as well. So, obviously, thanks go out to all of the great men and women who serve our tremendous country and do so at great sacrifice.
Absolutely. And, Damian, speaking of the end of that match, one thing that it did look like maybe they were trying to go somewhere with it at the very end was the lapse of time that it took Hardy to take the second belt down. I don't know if that was something in the arena that was discussed, but it seemed like there was enough of time passed there that, you know, it really at least, you know, made me wonder, were we going to have Aries climb up there and grab the second belt or something to that effect?
Well, here's what happened, and I don't want to pull the veil back too far, but you had the Hebners, daddy and son, where the referees for the contest went outside, went inside. Well, Earl was in the ring yelling at Jeff, grab both belts, grab both belts, grab both belts, grab both belts, repeatedly, which led to Jeff finally grabbing the second title.
Interesting.
Well, you know, it was a long, hard-fought match, so... Damian, anything else that you need to add?
They just about broke each other in half. And not to steal cliches from my my idol, my mentor, the man I strive to once be half as good as, Jim Ross. But they left their souls in that ring tonight. They left everything they had in that ring tonight, and they delivered what I think should go down in history as one of the most brutal ladder matches we've ever seen in any organization, bar none. Definitely the most brutal we've seen in recent history. Austin Aries and Jeff Hardy deserve a ton of credit for what they delivered in that ring tonight. They did an amazing job.
I know we keep talking. Go ahead, Matthew.
It really came off that way on television as well, Damien. I've seen ladder matches where there have been crazier spots, but I cannot recall the last time that I have seen a more brutal or stiffer ladder match. And one thing that I really thought added to it was the fact that there were multiple spots, multiple innovative spots, as you said earlier, that I hadn't seen before, but at no point to me did it feel like a spot fest. There was still that element of psychology, okay, everything that they're doing makes sense within the context of these two guys trying to climb the ladder and pull the titles down. It's not one of those ladder matches where you can see the next spot developing, 10 minutes in the future.
Absolutely. Very well put. And I was sitting in the section that, is with the media and the friends and family of a lot of the performers and guests of TNA, and there weren't any times where anybody got up and, cheered or whatnot during that show. But in those oh my God moments that happened in that ladder match, we all, including me, got up several times and sometimes cringed, but most of the time did so in respect for you can't get a true appreciation for it until you're close up and you're seeing it, from the front row and seeing it so close. And the Impact Zone obviously is intimate, but there are so many near misses. And, if you follow any of us on Twitter, you heard us talking about it, but even former referee for WWE, Jenny Corderas, many of you know of the score, said those were some dangerous spots that they did in that ring tonight. And that really, tells you what they did. They gave you their all, and you got to ask if it's smart to have matches like that. But I'll put that in the back and talk as a fan and say, damn, I sure loved it.
And appreciated it as well. And again, appreciate the effort because if you think back to the original TLC match, what was it? No, it was the TIT, Damien, you remember that, the Terry Invitational Tournament?
Yeah.
The TIT? And the cam that they had,
99, I believe it was.
Yeah, the cam they had over the ladder, that made me sick. It was like a roller coaster ride.
Absolutely.
Well, Damien, besides the ladder match, I want to get your thoughts real quick on the three-way.
OBT, Orange Blossom Trail, has been tremendous. Let me just tell you that. Meathead, you'll know what
yes,
this
sir.
number means, but I was very disappointed. I only saw 3 of them yesterday.
No, were they out by the card table?
Well, they were boisterous and they were working their zones, and I didn't see the bosses though, but they were. Yeah, usually you see 3 right in front of the church's chicken, but I only saw 3 up and down the whole OBT, but it was still fun.
And I gotta ask. No, I gotta ask. Did you slow down to take it? Were you driving solo, or did you have somebody in the car to slow down to take video?
Well, I don't text and drive, and I was not able to manipulate video of the performers on the street on OBT last night.
Gotcha. But as I was saying, though, I do want to get your opinion and thoughts on the three-way. We have a new number 1 contender, and we have a
nice segue.
Right. Thank you. And we have been practicing on Thursday nights. You know who calls in? It's one of the bosses. We've been learning. We want to get your thoughts on the three-way. Somebody's going to get a number 1 contender spot, and somebody's not getting a title shot until Bound for Glory 2013.
Hey, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up because I neglected to. A great matchup, 3 tremendous performers. I was a little surprised to see James Storm get the pin on AJ Styles in that matchup. But again, they delivered. I think it started off with high expectations, maybe a little slower, received a little slower than it should have been, but just an absolutely great matchup, and no pun intended, but this always tends to happen when we're talking about AJ Styles matchups. It was phenomenal, a great effort by all 3, and James Storm is the number 1 contender. AJ doesn't get a chance at a title until next year's Bound for Glory at the earliest.
Well, he doesn't get a shot at the World Heavyweight title. He could still become the Legends champion, or he could become the X Division champion, or Tag Team champion, or the Knockout champion, but he's not getting a world title shot until next year. So, and it looks like from the interview that happened there that AJ probably is going to take some time off.
Yeah, he probably should, to be honest with you, just because he's been, barring a couple of small injuries here or there, he's really been pounding the pavement, if you will, for years in TNA, and, he's one of their top performers. He's a man who delivers each and every time he's in that ring, and some time off definitely would not be a bad thing for Mr. Styles.
Yeah, company guy.
One thing coming from viewing experience at home tonight was that the commentary team on this match really put a lot of effort into painting the picture that AJ Styles may have been off his game a little bit, especially early on during the match when he kind of crashed and burned a couple of times. You could really tell that the commentary team was putting a lot of extra effort into what at the time seemed almost suspiciously setting the stage for potentially AJ to come out, receiving the pinfall as he did. So that's one thing, watching it at home as opposed to being in the arena, that it kind of made you wonder if they were going that direction. That also with the interview with AJ prior to the match, where he actually talked about how many, the troubles and everything that he has faced this year. So for one, I'm actually really interested in what comes out of this. My concern with, if you'd have had AJ win tonight, was that it seems like that's been the formula for the last several years. Whenever you're in doubt or limbo, put AJ Styles in the title match, have AJ Styles headline in the title match, and now we see he's going for a year without a title opportunity. I'm excited because I feel like this really gives us some time to let some type of angle, some type of story, some type of investment with AJ take place. So I'm for one, really, really looking forward to where they go with this.
Hey, if the commentary team did indeed do that, kudos to them, because they set it up perfectly then. And I was a little surprised to see the three-man team tonight, because I still don't know if we've been properly introduced to the third man joining Taz and TNA. But be that as it may, it sounds like they did a good job.
Yeah,
very good.
Especially that one match, they were very effective in doing what they needed to do right there.
I got to wonder, too, if this was a pre-planned thing for AJ to take a time off, because if you really think about it, this probably was going to be the end of the Claire Lynch story anyways, and there was probably a promise, hey, work your way through the Claire Lynch story, and we'll give you that time off you've been asking for.
He finished his spinach, now he gets dessert.
Ha! Hey, now, that's that OBT talking you.
There ain't no spinach on OBT. And if there is, stay far away from it.
Damian, anything else for you tonight?
Boys, I'm in the car now. I'm on my way to OBT, and shenanigans shall ensue. You guys have a great show, as you always do, and we will. I won't be on the Meltdown tomorrow. Matthew, I understand you're hosting again tomorrow night, which is going to be fun, of course.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
I will be back in the Impact Zone on Tuesday. They're not going to be live for the next few weeks through the holidays, so they're going to be taping a few shows, so I'll be back on Tuesday. We'll have some insight on this week's primetime, obviously, as to how the next few weeks of Impact are going to play out. But, gentlemen, have a great night. Thanks for having me on, and hope you have some good callers tonight.
Perfect. Damian Nelson, thank you. Live from the Impact Zone, and Damian on his way to a shenanigan-filled, and it's okay that we say it because it's Damian doing it, but I've been on the OBT with Damian Nelson, and it's good times. Damian chose to drive the last time we were down there, and I got to take the pictures and film the videos, and it was good stuff. Good stuff, Matthew. Speaking of taking callers, let's give out the number. Area code 347-996-5278 or toll free at 877-317-9772. You want to join us for the post show tonight? You want to interact with the program and talk about TNA's Turning Point? Make sure that you give us a call. Also, make sure you're using the hashtag. You know what? I thought it was Thursday night, Matthew. Come up with a hashtag.
Hello, hashtag. Trying to get my creative juices flowing here, Meathead. They're spinning.
How about hashtag PWR Turning Point? There you go. Done. You want to get your tweet read on the air? PWR Turning Point. But we are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll run down the matches. We'll take your phone calls and much, much more. You're listening to the post show for TNA's pay-per-view right here on Blog Talk Radio.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, real. don't forget to follow PWR right here on Blog Talk Radio right now. Be reminded of upcoming episodes and never miss Blog Talk Radio's most popular sports show. Follow PWR now. Missed an episode on the Pro Wrestling Report? Thanks, pal. Subscribe to the show on iTunes and take the show with you wherever you go, even in the bathroom. You're listening to the most popular sports show on Blog Talk Radio, the Pro Wrestling Report. They know their way around a wrestling ring, but certainly not a whole hell of a lot about being in it. This is the Pro Wrestling Report Radio. There's only one place to get the latest from pro wrestling, including the only place to get 100% verified wrestling news. PWRshow.com. PWRshow.com, where you'll never find pop-ups or misleading headlines. Watch or listen to all of our latest TV and radio broadcasts on demand. And get caught up on wrestling news between episodes. PWRshow.com is the cleanest, friendliest, and most fan-friendly source for wrestling news on the web. Follow us on Twitter for breaking news, live wrestling chat, and pure hilarity. Head over to twitter.com/PWRshow and be part of the conversation. This is the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, real.
Folks, welcome back to the post show for TNA's Turning Point tonight, and it's definitely a turning point of pay-per-views. The man they call Meathead, joined by the real M. Thomas, Matthew Thomas. Again, the phone numbers if you want to interact with us tonight, 347-996-5278, or toll free at 877-317-9772. You ready to run down these matches, Mr. Matthew Thomas?
Let's do it.
All right, let's start with the beginning of the show. Nice little thing they did in the ring with getting people to donate for the American Red Cross. Buckethead grabbed the mic and thanked, Dixie Carter, the TNA, the fans, and the Red Cross, and they were going for the Guinness Book of World Records by having the most people texting simultaneously, of course, and donating $10 to the Red Cross. Bully Ray in, what did you call it again this last Thursday? Super face mode?
He was in super face mode / with the faceometer turned up to about 11. He was he got a TNA chant started. I mean, he was, and for a good cause, no doubt. I mean, it was very well done. He's definitely got roots in that area, so it made sense. But yeah, he was leading a chorus of TNA cheers to start off the show.
Very nice. Let's start it off. It's Magnus and it's Samoa Joe. Now, we've talked week after week on Sudden Impact about the continued progression of a couple things. There's a couple storylines, a couple threads in this match. One, we have a new TV champion after he took the belt because Devon had the belt stripped from him. So now we've got Samoa Joe, and we were promised the TV champion will be on TV every week. Not always defending his title, as we saw this last week with Samoa Joe in that big, tag match, but on TV, and once again he's defending it against Magnus. Let me hear about the match. Well, how did you think it went over?
It was a good match to start the show. The only thing that I had a problem with here was it was a no DQ match, and outside of one spot where Joe attempted to dive outside the ring and Magnus threw a chair at him, there was really not a lot of reason for it to be a no DQ match. Still a solid match throughout the entire match, a good way to start the show off with some momentum, but a little bit confused as to the no DQ stipulation because that's really not the direction the match went in at all.
Yeah, maybe there was supposed to be some sort of run-in at some point, but your winner and still TNA television champion Samoa Joe, they go backstage and they interviewed the ODB. She said she can't find her hubby and she's embarrassed. EY walks up and said he's been busy and a shark ate his phone. Obviously, in relation to TV show that EY is doing. It's time to get off his boat, and they make out. It was awesome. That was some of my favorite stuff from the beginning of the year, was just ODB and Eric Young just being crazy kids in love. The mixed tag match, Eric Young and the ODB, I almost said the OPT, or the Orange Blossom, the OBT.
You got it on your mind?
Eric Young and ODB against Jesse and Tara. How did you feel the match went over?
It served the purpose. Like I said earlier, to me, having this on second, it killed a little bit of the momentum. For me, I would have liked to have seen something else, maybe RVD, Joey Ryan in this role, something to give the show a little bit more legs to start off with. It served the purpose. It's about what you would expect out of this match. Actually, the first time we've seen Jesse, to the best of my recollection, Jesse wrestle any males, and he certainly held his own. And, of course, we got to see him mix it up with ODB again, which, like I commented earlier, I really like to see, because it's not your traditional, like when you have Eric Young wrestling women, it just kind of, running around doing his thing. Jesse's actually in there mixing it up, doing full-fledged wrestling moves, which is something you don't see a lot of. It has a bit of a novelty and an entertainment factor to it. So I'm still enjoying Jesse in this role, and overall it was about what you'd expect from a mixed tag match.
I tell you what, we haven't seen that since probably the days of Chyna in that triple threat match for the Intercontinental Belt, where Chyna was a full-fledged wrestler and she performed with the males as a male. I mean, not a real male, but she got in, took her bumps, laid her shots. Now that you say it, and we're not saying that ODB can wrestle, just because ODB is a man, and she's an all woman. She's a lovely woman, but she can hold her own and go with the boys. So your winners of the match, Eric Young and the ODB. No sorts of shenanigans in this match. Kind of. I would say that's a lackluster part of it. It was that we didn't really have any kind of swerve, any kind of gimmick.
It was pretty straightforward. But one thing that it did do with having ODB and Eric Young in there, your current Knockout Tag Team champions, it actually got all the belts on television tonight. All the TNA titles were on the show, not necessarily defended, of course, but they were on there, which I think it's a great thing, and it's the way pay-per-views should be, to keep the titles on TV or pay-per-view and to keep them relevant. So it did something in serving that purpose.
Relevant indeed. Our next match was the X Division Championship, and ironically enough, this was something that used to always open the TNA pay-per-views. You'd have a high-flying 6-man or 8-man X-Man, X Division match where I got guys with the high spots, and you got Hernandez flying over the top rope, and that's not how it works anymore. We've got RVD, and we've got the Mr. Movember, Joey Ryan. Your winner and still champion, RVD, but I thought that Joey Ryan really looked strong in this.
He did. He continues to look strong. And one thing that finally clicked tonight with me regarding Joey Ryan is he's a lot like Paul Heyman in the fact that so much of his entertainment value, I mean, he can go in the ring. There's no question about that. But so much of what he does so good is just his reaction to people. And his little subtle cues and reactions that really just make him a very unique character. And that Joey Ryan, that sleazy character, kind of flows through. During every match, just watching the guy in the ring, watching the way he sells and the way he carries himself. It really makes it seem like there's something special there with him.
And being a new following member of Joey Ryan online on Twitter, I kind of like him. And that he also threw up, I don't know if you got the chance to see this, but it was a pre-pay-per-view interview by SoCal Val of Joey Ryan, and he just gives off this creepy vibe.
Yeah.
This 70s, 80s-ish, porn star-ish, again, because he's not a porn star, he's Joey Ryan. But he gives off this vibe, this weird, creepy, if for those of you that watch The League, I don't know, Matthew, if you watch this on Thursday nights on FX, he gives off a Rafi vibe, where he's just like, I'm not going to say pedophile, because that's obviously not what he is, kind of like Rafi, but just real creepy to the point where you know, he could end up saying the right word and probably get any woman he wants. But you're like, how does that happen? The guy's a scuzzbag. That's the kind of vibe that Joey Ryan gives off.
And that's what's so great about professional wrestling is when you have somebody who can go in the ring and you have somebody who is who does such a good job in genuinely playing this character. It really has a lot of entertainment value there. And I will tell you one thing, though, Meathead, I was disappointed with was Joey Ryan's been campaigning to legalize sleeves for quite some time now. And when I turned out on Tuesday morning to vote, I tried my damnedest, but as much as I tried to search for whatever proposition or amendment it was to check to help to legalize sleeves, it was not on the ballot in my area.
I think you had to have a referendum first to get it put on the ballot. There has to be a vote by your common council. By the way, Meathead, in 2016, I will be running for office. So, you know, I'm learning about all this law-type stuff.
Do you have a stance on sleeves as of yet?
Yeah, legalize it. Legalize sleeves, legalize, and bring back the chili cheese burrito at Taco Bell, because I'm not too happy that's gone either.
Yeah.
Again, so your winner and still champion, RVD. Backstage, Borash is talking to Park, and he wishes Sting well, and obviously says that the Aces and Eights denied him of his rights. A solid promo, of course, by Joseph Park. But he takes on the DOC, Doc, and you know, we got out of this match. I thought what we were going to get. It wasn't going to be a wrestling clinic. That's not what Abyss does. Joseph Park. Oh, Freudian slip. And Doc is not a mat technician by any means, but we got what we were supposed to get out of this. Your winner of the match, the DOC, Doc.
Yeah, with this one, I was a little bit surprised at the amount of offense that Joseph Park had. I thought with here they really had an opportunity to have Doc come in and just destroy Joseph Park, because at the end of the day, we've seen the little glimmers of Abyss shine through, but he is still supposed to be this character that is kind of happy-go-lucky character who gets his little moments of offense, but at the end of the day is still a lawyer. And I thought you bring Doc in last week, having beat down Sting. This was really an opportunity to have him just go in there and just make him a monster. And he still came out of it looking good, but there was a lot more back and forth. There was a lot more offense from Park than I necessarily expected. So to me, it was a bit of a missed opportunity as compared to the way that I would have liked to have seen Doc go in there and just make his impact felt with the beatdown.
Yeah, you're right. They I guess they did miss an opportunity. I'll go with you on that one. Backstage, talking to Bobby Roode with Jeremy Borash. Roode definitely wanted to get back into the game and said nothing holding him down, and except for the two guys in the ring. So the match that we had talked about and I was most excited about, besides the ladder match, of course, was the triple threat. I'm sorry. Let's talk about the tag team match first. I started talking about Bobby Roode, got all excited about the triple threat. Let's talk about the tag team match first. It's Chavito and Hernandez, Supermax versus Daniels Kazarian. Again, you know, I'm getting these flashes every time I see Christopher Daniels. I think I want Curryman back.
Yeah, his moves are starting to show through, and most notable tonight, we've seen a little bit of it in recent weeks from Daniels, the Gangnam Style, but tonight they took it to another level, and on pay-per-view we got both Daniels and Kaz with a double Gangnam Style dance, which was worth every bit of the $34.99.
Is that standard definition or high definition?
That's standard. I hadn't quite made the evolutionary leap quite yet.
You know, high definition's been around for about 10 to 15 years, right?
Yeah, but hey, it is in color.
Fantastic. Technicolor, your winners of the match and still the World Tag Team Champions, Chavo Hernandez. Now let's talk about the three-way. It was AJ Styles, Bobby Roode, and James Storm. The winner gets a world title shot. The loser doesn't get a title shot until Bound for Glory 2013. I'm not bragging, I'm not boasting, but this went exactly as I thought it would. Your winner of the match, James Storm, pinning AJ Styles.
Yeah, and like I said, I really like the outcome here. For one, it's going to put us with the James Storm, Jeff Hardy program that I think there's money in, but I'm really excited about having some type of storyline coming out of this for AJ Styles. I don't think he's damaged at all. I know that's been a lot of the talk because the internet wrestling community and the build-up to this has been going over all the different scenarios, and that was a common concern about AJ if he was the one to get pinned, if it would damage him for the rest of the year. And the way I look at it is we've seen AJ on the top. We've seen him hold the title. He's been a major part of the company for quite a while, and I feel like right now with both Rude and both Storm, we're getting to that part where they're still relatively, of course Rude had the long title run, but they're still relatively new in that main event picture, and my concern was either one of those, if you had to take the pinfall and go a year without being on the top of that card, it would really slow down some of that momentum that they've developed in the last couple of years. AJ Styles, I think it's going to do the complete opposite. The problem that I run into with AJ Styles a lot of time is that he's consistently good. You know when you throw AJ Styles in a match, he's going to deliver. But at times, I feel like they fall back on that a little too much and don't go the route with him where you necessarily have that investment. And that's one thing that they've done with a couple of the original TNA guys over the last year with Kaz and Daniels, two guys, again, who would always deliver in pretty much any match you put them in, but they've given them a little bit of extra story this year. They've given them a little bit of extra character, and I think it's really helped them resonate and really helped give them that added level of relevance, and I'm really hoping that something similar comes out of this program like that for AJ Styles.
Can always hope, because again, the goal is coming out of a pay-per-view or coming out of a match. Really, both players or everybody that's in the match coming out strong, regardless of the outcome. You're hoping for something for both or for all three, as this match was. And Bobby Roode comes out of it with nothing, so he's not hurt by it. I don't think he gains from it. But James Storm needed this. He needed to go back and be the number one contender, at least in my opinion. And I hate to insult the workers here, but kind of a popcorn match when you talk about Devon and Kurt Angle.
Yeah, the problem that I have with any Aces and Eights match at this point, with it still being so much unknown, we've only had 2 reveals, I have a hard time getting into the actual match myself. I'm always in the back of my head, I'm thinking, okay, when are Aces and Eights going to hit the ring? Is there going to be a reveal tonight? Is anybody going to lose their mask? I have a hard time getting into the actual matches, which I don't necessarily know that that's not what they're thinking. They want you invested in the storyline. This match was the next to last one to go on right before the main event. So, yeah, I had a hard time getting invested into the actual wrestling match itself. And nothing too eventful coming out of it. Angle picking up the win and then escaping before the Aces and Eights beatdown was to ensue. The way it went off, it kind of makes you think they're going to continue the program as they were telling Angle. He's still their number one target at this point. So likely they're going to continue to go in some direction with Angle, but nothing too eventful to come out of this one.
Yeah, and it's a good point too, because that does give Angle something going on. Even though they'll stretch that out for a while, but it keeps Angle relevant because the Aces and Eights are gunning for him. And again, I don't want to kind of rehash everything that we talked about, but let's talk main event. Let's talk Aries and let's talk Hardy. This was it was an amazing match. Your winner, still TNA World Heavyweight Champion Jeff Hardy. We talked on Saturday Impact about how maybe it would be a great idea to let Austin Aries take back the belt and melt down his little belt buckle just for the entertainment factor of it. But I think we knew in the back of our minds that it was the right thing to do to keep Hardy with the belt, even though, common thought tells you that there's more money in a face chasing a heel for a belt. But it doesn't matter. We were treated to an amazing matchup.
Just an outstanding match. Anybody who did not catch this live tonight, I highly recommend ordering the replay, if for nothing else, to watch this match. Those guys, left it all in that ring right there. And I'll tell you, it's one of those matches that I'll probably enjoy a little bit more watching it after it happened, because as Damien, who saw it live tonight firsthand, referenced earlier, there were dangerous spots. These weren't your traditional ladder match spots. There was this, at least with me, this aura of kind of an uneasy feeling hanging over a lot of it, because these guys were taking some bumps, they were taking some stiff spots, and just an overall very good match. It was innovative. You saw stuff you haven't seen before. The whole thing with Aries grabbing control of the lever or the apparatus that lowers and raises the belts was different, and just a very, very good match, a very, very well-constructed match. And, like I remarked earlier, it felt like it did a good job telling the story. If you put two belts, hoisted them up high, and told two guys to go after them and get them, this is what it felt like. It wasn't a spot fest. There were multiple hard spots, but it all flowed. The psychology made sense. If I've seen a better ladder match, it's not coming to me right now. I have to go a long ways back before. Not in recent memory have I seen a ladder match this good.
It's amazing that we were given 8 matches for this pay-per-view tonight. 2 hours, 45 minutes-ish. 8 matches. Samoa Joe defeating Magnus. EY and ODB defeat Jesse and Tara. RVD retains against Joey Ryan for the X Division. The Doc beat Joseph Park. Chavo and Hernandez defeat Christopher Daniels Kazarian to retain the TNA World Tag Team Championships. James Storm pinned AJ Styles, and Bobby Roode defeated Styles and Bobby Roode, but he pinned Styles for his number 1 contendership. AJ Styles will now have to wait 1 year before he gets another world title shot. You can make something out of that, too. And Kurt Angle defeats Devon. Jeff Hardy retains against Austin Aries in a ladder match. Folks, an amazing pay-per-view. If you get the opportunity, make sure you get in the replay. We do have a caller on hold that's waited patiently. I do want to get to you right now. How about the 319? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Andrew from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and man, Damien just got off the phone. I know. Well, I've been listening to you guys. Well, I haven't listened to you guys lately, but I've been listening to the PWR show since 2009, since you guys got Bill and Doug. And I remember you, Meathead, you were on it all the time. So I just want to say thank you for everything, because I started listening to this, and then I started listening to other radio shows. So I just want to say thank you. And
yeah,
Damien,
not a problem. Thank you.
Yeah, and Damien, you better be listening, Damien. You owe me.
Did you see the pay-per-view?
Yeah, I did. It was pretty good. For some reason, the sound was messed up, so it was like all on mute. Like I watched the ladder match like all on mute, but
Did
like
that
one.
Help?
What?
Did it help? I think it would have intensified it.
It wasn't. It was a little bit more intense, but it was still exciting. Like I still watched like a lot of the bumps and the things they did.
Okay, so overall, what would you give it out of?
I don't know. It was pretty good. The best ladder match I've seen in a very long time, if not at all. Probably the last ladder match I would see was probably like the TLC matches from back then. Okay.
All right. Well, we appreciate you calling in. We appreciate you paying attention to the show. Thank you again. I've actually been around the show since '99 is when I joined. I was in '99 or 2000. I think it was '99. Wow, it's been a long time. Matthew, we will talk again tomorrow on the Monday Night Meltdown. No Damian Nelson. He's stuck on OBT, so you're going to get David. I'm going to say all his gimmick names, but I don't want people to think that somebody else came up with them. Those are all mine. I came up with them. I called him Tiberius. I called him Davis Octavius. We're going to talk to you tomorrow night, the Monday Night Meltdown, right after Raw goes off the air. For Matthew Thomas, I'm the man they call me Dad. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Post Show for TNA's Turning Point. Good night, everybody.
This is the Pro Wrestling Report. Informative, entertaining, real.